Hi, boys and girls. Well, hello, families. How's everybody doing? Today is going to be so much fun with cooking because not only are we cooking something so delicious and yummy, I'm going to show you something very special, and then I'm going to read you a story. So, I'm going to give you a clue of what we're learning about today. In this pile of dirt, I have some very special animals that I'm going to show you. And I'm going to just show you another clue. I'm going to show you the title of this book. It's called Diary of a Worm. Diary of a Worm. What are we going to learn about today? Well, I will tell you. First, we're going to bake something very special. And I have a recipe, I have ingredients and directions. So, the first thing we're going to make is something called instant pudding. And it's going to be, can you guess what kind of pudding? Chocolate pudding. So let's get started. I'm going to read the box because it also has the directions. It says to pour this into a bowl. I want you to notice the color. In the bowl it goes. Then we have to put 2 cups of milk. So here's my measuring cup with numbers. Here's milk. I have to put 2 cups of milk. So I look at the line. I measure to that number 2 line. And I slowly pour it in. There we go. And now I have to whisk it. Oh, before I continue, I forgot to mention, what did I do with my hands before we started? I thoroughly washed them with soap and water, so they are super clean. Here's my whisk, and I start mixing. And I mix rather quickly. Now, remember, boys and girls, when we mix and bake, someone can stir, and someone in your family can always hold the bowl, so we share and take turns. And this starts out as a liquid because we poured the milk. Milk is a liquid. So, as I start to whisk, the ingredients starts to get thicker. And eventually, boys and girls, it turns into chocolate pudding. Can you say chocolate pudding? I'm going to let that sit because we have to move on to our next ingredients. For this recipe, we need 1 baggie for the next ingredient. It is graham crackers, which are also very yummy. So I open the bag and I put in a graham cracker. Now, you have to close the baggie very tightly. And you can ask a family member to help you do this to make sure that it's on super tight. The next ingredient you also need a baggie for. Open up the baggie and Oreo cookies. So I take an Oreo cookie, I drop it in the baggie, then make sure it is sealed. That means that it's closed very tightly. And again, you can ask somebody in your family to check it to make sure that it is closed. Now, boys and girls, I'm going to stir this again before we continue. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's turning into a solid chocolate pudding. Now comes a really fun part. Inside this baggie is the graham cracker. The next thing we do is you make a fist. Who can make a fist? And you use this part of your fist and you get to smash and mush and bash the graham cracker. So you take your fist, it's going to make some noise, and you gently, not too hard, mash it. Watch this. Look at that. Okay. Next, boys and girls, we get to mash the Oreo. Make a fist. You can practice right now. And you're going to hit the baggie in Oreo with this part of your fist. Here we go. It's going to make some noise. And if your hand gets tired, you can switch. And make sure you can use the palm of your hand. And there it is, mushed and squashed. Okay, boys and girls. Now comes the next part of our recipe. I have a clear cup, and what we're going to do is we're going to make worms in dirt now. Worms in dirt, worms in sand, and worms in mud. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the mud in this cup. What looks like mud? If you said the chocolate pudding, you are right. So I scoop 1 spoonful of mud. There it is. And now I take another spoon. I open my baggie. This, boys and girls, becomes the sand. And I stick my spoon in the baggie and I gently pour sand over the mud. Then this is the dirt. Another name for dirt is soil. Say soil. Here is my soil. It really looks like real soil, doesn't it? Then I gently pour some soil. Now I go back to my mud. I put some more mud in there. Then I go back to my sand, which is really the graham cracker, and I put sand. Then I go to my dirt, and I reach into the baggie with my spoon, and I sprinkle dirt. I want a little more dirt in there, over the sand. And boys and girls, what you start to see, I call this layers. Layers of mud, layers of sand, layers of dirt. I'm going to put another layer of mud. Plop that in, 1 spoonful. And I'll do another layer of sand. And one more layer of dirt. And I'm going to top it off with some mud. I love mud. This happens to be yummy mud. And there's my layer. I have one more ingredient that I need to put on the top. Boys and girls, the recipe is called worms in dirt, sand, and mud. Look what I have! Worms! So now I reach in, and they are gummy worms. I reach in and I grab some worms, wiggly gummy worms, and I put them on top. In the mud they go. I also have another kind of worm. These are sour worms, wiggly, squiggly worms, and I drop them in. And boys and girls, this is worms in mud and soil or dirt and sand, and you can eat it up. Delicious worms in their environment. Okay, now we're going to move on to another fun activity that you can do at home. Remember I said that there's something special in here? What do you suppose is in here? I'm going to give you some clues. Something is alive. That means it's moving on its own and it's breathing. We're discussing and having fun with worms. So now I'm going to show you what's in here. I'm gently looking around. Oh boy. Boys and girls, look what I have. Worms! Now, I'm going to talk about worms as it gently moves around on my hand. I'll put the other one on too. Keep each other company. Worms do not have lungs like we do. They breathe through their skin. And worms love to wiggle and wiggle up to the surface of the ground. The surface means the top. They do that to get more oxygen. And when it rains, and it happened to rain last night, they can't get too wet when they're tunneling down in the ground because they won't get enough air to breathe. So after a rain that we've had on Long Island, where you live, the worms tunnel back up through the dirt and they get to breathe more. They get to have more oxygen. There are thousands of kinds of worms in the world. Now, worms do not have eyes like we do, so they're sensitive to light, meaning that they can sense light and the sun all around them. They know when it's light out. They know when the sun's out, even though they don't have eyes. Worms, when they're starting to grow, go into a cocoon and they hatch out of the cocoon. Now, worms, if you've never heard it before, you'll hear people say, Worms are really, really good for our planet and for the environment. And I'm going to tell you why. When worms are tunneling in the ground, in the dirt, they aerate the soil. That means as they're moving slowly and wiggling in the ground, they're loosening the soil. And that brings oxygen and air into the soil. And that allows plants to grow. And plants like vegetables and flowers and trees. So these worms loosen up that soil and they aerate it. They give oxygen. Worms produce a lot of really good things for the earth. And I'm going to just tell you, they produce nitrogen. Say nitrogen. They produce phosphorus. Say phosphorus. Good. They produce potassium. Potassium. And calcium carbonate. Say calcium carbonate. And those are really important words because they help the planet Earth. They keep the planet healthy. We also think of worms as recycling machines. We've been talking about recycling a lot, boys and girls, right? They help to recycle. I'm going to tell you why. While they're busy squirming and wriggling around in the earth, they eat everything. They eat plants that are not alive anymore. They actually eat the soil as they're traveling through, and then they digest, and out comes something called a cast, worm castings. And if you ever take a walk after a rainy day, you'll see little hard balls that are kind of brown on the ground. That's from worms. So all that recycled food that they ate, so they would eat, they would digest, out comes castings onto the ground. That turns into soil again. So it's like a life cycle. So these are our wonderful worms. Now, what's really important is if you find a worm, you can certainly play with them. They won't hurt you. But you have to make sure you put them back in the ground where you got them from, because where you got them has enough life for them to continue living. Where you got them has their food, their shelter, that's where they keep safe, and air. So you want to play with them. You can look at them, investigate, and explore, but they have to go back where you got them from, because if they stay out of the dirt too long, they won't live. If they get too much sun, they will not live. So that's why worms live beneath. That means below the top of the earth. You want to make sure you put them back where you found them. And I'm going to just be quiet for a moment, just so you could see how they move. They move very slowly. Right now they're feeling and sensing my hands. They might be saying, what are we wiggling on? Hands. Oh. They're investigating. They're exploring. They're discovering. They are alive. They're moving. They're breathing. Worms have segments. That's how their bodies are made. That one's really moving quickly. Okay, so I'm going to put them back in this dirt. And when we're all finished today, you and I'm going to put them right back where I got them. It's fun to play with worms and learn about them and observe them and watch how they behave. So I gently put them right back in here. And they're going to wiggle their way and tunnel down and cover themselves again in here for now. Okay, come join me for a story. Diary of a Worm by Doreen Cronin and pictures by Harry Bliss. Diary of a Worm. Here's the date, March 20th. Mom says there are 3 things I should always remember. The earth gives us everything we need, and that says me. When we dig tunnels, we help take care of the earth. And he says, must make tunnel, help earth breathe. Never bother Daddy when he's eating the newspaper. Chomp, 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 chomp. March 29th. Today I tried to teach Spider how to dig. First of all, his legs got stuck. And he says, I think I've twisted one of my ankles. Then he swallowed a bunch of dirt. Tomorrow he's going to teach me how to walk upside down. And look, the spider spit out the dirt. And the worm says, I give up. Spiders don't eat dirt. March 30th. Worms cannot walk upside down. Spiders can. He's trying. April 4th. Fishing season started today. We all dug deeper. We don't want to be used as bait. So the worms tunnel all the way down. Did you guys hear something? April 10th. It rained all night and the ground was soaked. We spent the entire day on the sidewalk getting more oxygen. Hopscotch is a very dangerous game. I don't want to get stepped on. Me either. April 15th. I forgot my lunch today. I got so hungry that I ate my homework. Oh my goodness. My teacher made me write, I will not eat my homework. April 20th. I snuck up on some kids in the park today. They didn't hear me coming. I wiggled up right between them and they screamed. I love when they do that. May 1st. Grandpa taught us that good manners are very important. So today I said, good morning to the first ant I saw. There were 600 more ants in a line. I stood there all day and watched them. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you doing? May 8th. Had the worst nightmare last night. Giant birds playing hopscotch. Mom says I have to stop eating so much garbage right before I go to bed. May 15th. I got into a fight with a spider today. He told me, you need legs to be cool. And then he ran. I couldn't keep up with him. May 16th. I made Spider laugh so hard he fell out of his tree. Who needs legs? May 28th. Last night I went to the school dance. You put your head in, you put your head out, you put your head in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself about. That's all we could do. June 5th. Today we made macaroni necklaces in art class. I brought mine home and we ate it for dinner. June 15th, my older sister thinks she's so pretty. August 1st, it's not always easy being a worm. We're very small and sometimes people forget that we're even here. But like Mom always says, the earth never forgets we're here because we help the earth so much. And here is the worm's adventures outside. Looking at baseballs, having friends, digging piles of earth, eating leaves. The end. So boys and girls, when you go outside, especially today because it's rained last night, look for worms. Take a spoon, dig under the soil, turn over some rocks, become a scientist, explore and discover. There is so much outside to find. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy, everybody. I miss you. Bye-bye.